Yesterday, we learned some base knowledge indirectly from the BlackRock CEO, Larry the Lizard. But I want some more. My thirst for base knowledge is never ending. That's why we go to the fountain of base knowledge. We drink from the fountain of base science. Dr. Jack Kruse, Uncle Jack. He breaks this shit down better than anybody, in my opinion. And this podcast made so many puzzle pieces fit together. I'm not gonna say that word. This guy, this uncle, he might be the smartest motherfucker I've ever come across. Like, he's a doctor, like actually a real doctor. Like, he can do neurosurgery and all that shit, like the regular Rockefeller doctors do. And that can actually save your life sometimes. You have some accidents and stuff. But his best advice is to go outside, get some sunlight. He got all the science to back it up. So he got that going. But on top of that, what makes him so based is he has incredible knowledge. He knows ins and outs of the freaking history like that. Why? He has the knowledge who's actually in control, and he fucking names these fools. He names these fools so we can know who our enemies are. Because nobody actually knows who okay, some people do, but most normies, most truthers, most conspiracy guys, like, they cannot name these fools. Who's behind all these influencers, scammers, politicians, doctors, other doctors. Like, Jack Kruse actually freaking names these fools day after day on X. He goes on so many podcasts to break the... Like, I'm so dialed into the politics right now. I know who's controlling what. I know my history now so good. Like, I knew most of these things before, but they were kinda like... the puzzle was not connected yet. And Jack Kruse, with this podcast especially, I'm gonna link a couple podcasts. This one I'm gonna react to in a second, and another one, which is a 4-hour podcast. If you really wanna know the history, as you should, as a base scientist, as a fellow genius, like, you have to know this stuff, because they repeating the playbooks over and over again, and you have to know the players, you have to know the enemy, so you can counteract with them. And I don't agree with everything. In this podcast he said we went to the moon. Uncle Jack, really? We went to the moon? I don't freaking think so. So everybody has some blind spots. But what I love about Uncle Jack is he names the people, he names the companies, he follows the money. Like, I have gotten so much knowledge and information from Uncle Jack that I haven't seen anywhere. And I've been looking, bro. So he got that health, which we are all about. He got that shit down. Like, he helped me a lot. That's when, like, most of this shit changed when I got my circadian rhythms in check, and I stopped eating all that tropical fruits in Finland in winter. That was a real dumbass retarded idea. So he got that health, he got that history, at least like the last couple centuries. He knows about some ancient stuff too, but If you want that ancient history, go to RKX. I have one video I read them also. And he got the politics, he got the money, the wealth down. So let's get into it. And this podcast especially, it links everything together and it made me mad, bro. If you understand that, especially the World War I to World War II period, as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed fucking Viking from the north, Aryan boy, when you understand those world wars and what some people did to some people like me, my kin, it's fucking rough, bro.
Talked about the transfer agreement around a couple of times. So when was that signed? And what?
Do you know about the transfer agreement about World War II? And prior to that, intelligent prior. You know about that? I knew about it. But I kinda knew about it on surface level. I didn't fully get it before Uncle Jack.
Is that deal?
1931.
And what's that deal about? So what, the royal family?
The deal is about the Rothschilds came up with the idea on November 2nd, 1917 in the Balfour Declaration. It's stamped by King George. Then King George's family works out with Pope Leo the 11th and the 12th. Leo the 11th dies, but Leo the 12th stamps everything and says, okay, we're a part of this plan.
Like, this dude knows the popes from 100 years ago. Now he can just name them like this. But who's the key players again? Rothschilds, royal family, Fabians, the Pilgrim Society. And this podcast also, we are not gonna go into that one right now, but it explains so well the bankers and the technocrats. They are not the same, and I have heard about this years ago already, but it was also kind of scrambled in my head because many of things. But this podcast put the bankers where they are and the technocrats where they are.
Their goal is to recapture a lloydial title. What did Britain lose from 1776 on? They lost the United States and they lost Russia. They lost Russia in the Bolshevik Revolution. The Rothschilds' goal was to reclaim the United States and Russia. That's what their goal was. So they had to get them in to 2 world wars. That's exactly what the whole 20th century was about.
Boom, bitch. You don't learn that in your school books. Why? Because these guys made those school books.
And this will show you how successful Britain and the bankers were. This will probably be offensive to your UK listeners, but it's the truth. No country has won and been on the winning side of 2 wars and lost more than Britain. They lost everything. And they lost it to the United States. And part of the reason they lost it is the people that were helping in the beginning, the Fabians, the Council of Foreign Relations people. That's the Dulles brothers who worked with Keynes on the Treaty of Versailles. They got schooled at their own game. And they knew it. And once this whole thing goes down, Israel gets made, a formal country in 48. What's the goal? The goal then is we're going to do imperialism through Israel. In other words, British imperialism is
Why is everybody so anti-Semitic right now? Why was everybody like that before World War II? Who actually created Israel? You just freaking heard it, bro. So learn about these psyops. Blame the actual people behind them.
Is basically Zionism dressed in drag. That's effectively what it is.
It's the Zionist motherfuckers.
It's the same idea recapitulated through another foreign government. Why? Because the people that formed Israel are British. That's who they are. And they've used the Jews as, how shall I say this, human shields. And guess who became a...
This explains everything, bro. And if it doesn't for you yet, you have to learn a little bit more. But that sentence explains everything. Okay, not everything, but it explains a lot about our history.
aware of this. Meyer Lansky, and he didn't like it. Why? Because he was a Russian Jew from Ukraine that actually was really pissed off that these banking elites would use the Jewish people as a shield so that nobody would understand what their movements were going on from literally 1917 all the way through the war. And how does he find that out? He finds that out because he captures Kurt Plotner, who is the SS surgeon on the decks
Where MK Ultra comes from, it's all freaking linked.
of New York Harbor. And he turns that information in to FDR and General Groves, and he turns it into the people who were the Zionist federations in Britain and in the United States, who eventually will become Israel. So this information was out there. And why did Britain have to worry about this? Because they were deathly afraid in the mid-20th century that it would be found out that the royal family, the papacy, and the bankers actually propped up Hitler. Hitler was a psyop.
This linked so many pieces together. And I've heard the Rothschild-Hitler connection, but it never really, like the Hitler's grandmother was a Rothschild servant and that kind of shit. But there's no actual proof about it. But with this, there's actually proof. There's coins about the transfer agreement with the swastika on the back and Star of David in the front. There's proof about the money exchanging, like Hitler. This was the psyop that always got me. Like Hitler took the Rothschild banks out of Germany, but that was a play. That was like Hitler, you can go about that in two ways. You can go about it like, oh, Hitler was a good guy, he was against the bankers, but you didn't know he was freaking together with the bankers, hands behind their backs, and it was a play move. It was a 5D chess move. So they again, oh, maybe at this point we'll get to that.
Hitler wasn't who we thought he was to this day. And you know, in Germany, if you say what I just said to you on this podcast, you can be thrown in jail for this.
Why is that? Why you can't talk about this? Because it's one of the biggest psyops of the last... It might be the biggest psyop of the last 100 years. We still talk about it.
Why? They've had all the laws changed so that this narrative can be kept silent. But the place...
Yes, and this podcast is incredibly shadow banned. Like it gets so little views for a Jack Kruse podcast. My channel, I'm talking about these things. I have been talking about these things since the beginning. I'm incredibly shadow banned. Wonder why? Because when some of the normies who got a little bit brain left, some of the like normal people start to learn about this, think about how mad some people would get if their families, their bloodlines were affected by some of these actions in the last century. And just like in general, just people being lied to. Like if you've been lied to this big, what else can they lie to you about?
I thought it got exposed, like where the shark fin came up the best, you already showed in this podcast. Edward VIII's abdication, he was so bullish on Hitler and Germany and this plan, he didn't think it could fail, but it cost him...
Yeah, the there's pictures about the former queen of the Great Britain doing that salute as a kid. His father was teaching him.
Being the king. Okay, that's how he was just too vocal about it. It got so bad. Do you know why the British royal family had to remove him from Paris during the war? Because he wouldn't shut up. So then they sent him to the Caribbean so that nobody would be able to hear from him until the war was done and everything died down. By
So
this
hold on.
time, his brother dies. His brother dies, and then his daughter takes over, who you showed doing the Heil Hitler thing on the paper. That's Queen Elizabeth. She takes over in 53. She knows all this stuff. She's always known this stuff. She was indoctrinated by her uncle, Edward VIII.
Okay.
And her father was not ready to be the king. But guess what? He had to take the reins because Edward VIII would have blown up the whole transfer agreement program.
Okay, treat me like an idiot, which is actually not very difficult. So basically, royal family, Rothschilds, and Vatican work together. They create Hitler. Hitler was created by the New York bankers as well. And the Bolsheviks were also funded by the New York bankers.
Stop. The New York bankers helped the Rothschilds. This is how the Rockefellers and Rothschilds built their own holy alliance. Who is the guy that did that? The number one guy? Prescott Bush. You know who that is?
Yeah, I know.
Grandfather of George W. And he hides assets. Who else helps Hitler out? Henry Ford. Do you know that when you opened up the SS tanks, you would see GM and Ford stamped on the engine? We were selling our stuff to Hitler. Why? Because the corptocracy in the United States knew that this was a bullshit war. That's the reason why.
Yes, and who were the real people who died in that? And who were the real people that died in Soviet Union, in Ukraine, and how many people that killed? And you cannot talk about this on YouTube, because these certain people control YouTube and the tech.
Churchill replaced Chamberlain to convince FDR to jump into the war. Guess what? To FDR's credit, even though he was a Jewish guy and we believe a Zionist, he did not jump into the war until the Japs bombed us in Pearl Harbor.
And that's another psyop, but that's a different kind of psyop. They didn't actually create the attack, but they knew about the attack and let it happen on them. So they got a real good reason to go to the war. They don't teach you about that history also.
And this was to the consternation of the leadership in Britain. Why? Because what happened between 36 and 41? The transfer agreement started to fall apart. Why? Because of the logistics. No one ever counted on how difficult it was to move Jews all around Europe. But Hitler kept telling them, this is not an easy thing to do.
But why? I still want to understand why they would do that. Like, why did they want... Like, what? How did they profit from this? How did the Rothschilds profit from this?
Dude, are you not listening to fucking anything I'm saying?
Be patient with
every
me.
fucking Jew in Europe and putting him in Israel. You know what that's like? For the Rothschilds, that's like fucking open up a mall that only Jewish people, go to. It's like fucking making New York City on steroids.
Yeah, bro.
Are you fucking kidding me? This is the most profitable move that a banker can make, to have a group of people that all have your ideology and bank with you. Are you crazy?
Even if it means a lot of them die?
They don't give two fucks about it. Dude, do you not understand anything about history?
I do.
I mean,
they're willing to. I want to hear it though. I'm saying this so I can hear you say it.
Talk about everything. Like think about. You mentioned it before I interrupted you. The Bolsheviks killed 60 million Christians. Did you?
Yes. Nobody talks about that. Did you hear that number? That's a whole lot more than the other number. And who were those people? Now you get it. if you start to learn about this shit, guys, we need to start planning.
You think they give two fucks? No, absolutely not. I mean, give me a break. Like, the history of man shows you what we're capable of. We are the fucking most evil people on the planet, especially when we're not connected to the grand unifying theory, which is nature. And these people are not connected to nature. They
Boom, that's why they do all this shit. None of the indigenous people who just live their lives out there, who Weston A. Price went to look, they were all happy. They were all content and fulfilled about life. They don't have any of this evil shit running their veins. That's why these technocrats and the bankers, they do this shit. They are not connected to this place. They are disconnected. So that means their heart, their soul, their brains are disconnected about these things. They lose the sight of what really matters. They just want to start dominating other people.
They are connected to the idea that they want to control other humans. That is the idea of the royal family. That's what centralization is. That's what a monarchy is. If you really want to know what's at the base of this whole program, Klaus Schwab told you. And that's why King Charles is his best friend. You'll own nothing and be happy about it. What does that sound like? The Dark Ages. That sounds like when the monarchy and papacy was hugely powerful. And they controlled the world. They want to go back in time. That's what everything in the 21st century is about. Well, guess what? The fucking technocrats came in and said, hold my beer.
Fuck. You can go check that conversation about that. This makes everything fit together. How do we get people to understand this? This message gets shadow banned. It's way out of reach of normies. Consciousness. They just can't comprehend about this at all. They think the history books they learned about in school were accurate. Even though all this is so provable. But it is hard to find, I tell you that. It is hard to find. Wonder why? It took me a long time to figure this out. But man, this gets you, your blood a little bit boiling. It gets you a little bit mad. And not just a little bit. When you understand the level of psyops these guys have done. But this was last century. Now they have different kind of weapons. It's the weapons you are watching me right now. It's these kind of weapons. It's the planes with their little white snake tail coming out of them, flying around everywhere, ruining your perfectly blue sky sunny day, killing your motherfucking vibe, and you just wanna enjoy the nature and sun. Like, these are the weapons they are using these days, including a few others the base science knows all about and I've mentioned. Anyway, Uncle Jack, that's some base knowledge. Let's fucking ponder about this a little bit. And share this shit, like this shit. Let's uplift the shadow ban of base science. Let's get base science the biggest science channel on YouTube. Let's get it, guys.